me take you back to the beginning of last year, so 2022. I was in college at the time working at a job that I didn't particularly like. At this point in my journey, I had a decent physique. I was eating clean, as well as I was reading a lot of self improvement and business books. Books like 48 Laws of Power, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Atomic Habits, Think and Grow Rich. But my main problem was I wasn't taking action after reading these books. I told myself, oh, I'll just start a business after I finish college. I'll just wait. But deep down, I knew that I was lying to myself. I knew the main thing holding me back from actually starting a business was fear. Anyways, the year goes on by, and one day I'm home from work just eating in the kitchen, and my mom comes home from work as well. Now, usually, my mom comes home from work, or at least at this time, I would say hey, but I would be on my phone and kind of not really pay attention to her, which is horrible. Don't do that, by the way. Appreciate your loved ones. But this particular day, for some reason, I decided not to do that. And I wasn't on my phone, and she came in the kitchen, and I took a look at her face, and I saw a face of exhaustion and fatigue, and I absolutely hated that. Anyways, she goes to her room to go rest and whatnot, and I go to my room to kind of just think about what just happened and process everything. I hated seeing my mother like that. See, I'm from Nepal, and in Nepal, my mom was actually a housewife, meaning that she didn't really have to work. All she had to do was wash the dishes and cook. That was literally her whole life. And compare that to here, where she has to wake up at 5 a.m. to commute to a job that's 30 minutes away just to provide for her kids. She has a horrible life comparing that back home to Nepal. And I sat there and I thought about this comparison for a little bit, and I was just like, I have to do something. I hate seeing my mother like this. I can't see her like this. And I decided to do just that. And chances are, you're probably the same, aren't you? You probably do have parents that work a shitty job or work their ass off just for you. They're sacrificing their life just for you. And you hate seeing your mom like that, especially if you are an immigrant and your parents back home had a better life. But anyways, after that day, I told myself, I have the knowledge and I can learn more using the power of the internet. And I'm not going to sit here and wait while my mom suffers going to a shitty job that she hates. So I'm going to start now, and I'm going to make money so that I can provide for her. And I did exactly that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what separates the people that take action versus the average Joe Schmo. Both of these two people are afraid, but the action takers do the hard work anyway. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the number one thing holding you back from taking action in your life: fear. And in this video, I'll be speaking about how you can kill your fears, even if you have doubts and insecurities, with my 3-step fear killing framework. So step number 1 is to analyze your fears and analyze where they come from and what you're actually scared of happening. You see, oftentimes your fears' deep-rooted causes are honestly not wanting to be embarrassed or look like a fool in front of others. I'll give you guys an example. I put off starting a YouTube channel for literally years. I've been wanting to be a YouTuber for years now. Now, granted, back in the day, I wanted to upload gaming videos like League of Legends or Fortnite, whatnot, but it's still the same. I put off starting a YouTube channel because I was scared of what other people would think of me. Even when I started seeing success in business, I was scared that an old friend from high school would find my videos and think I'm cringe or weird. And just for that reason alone, I put off starting a YouTube channel because I was fearful. I was fearful of what other people would think of me, and that caused me not to chase my dreams. Until one day, one of my friends uploaded a YouTube video that honestly inspired me. So shout out to you, Yusuf. But he inspired me, and I was like, I can start a YouTube channel. Maybe I can do this. And then around that same time, Hamza had put out a video talking about how you can make money on YouTube. And he basically called out everybody in the video saying, you have 24 hours to upload a YouTube video to your channel. And I did just that. But you see, the example here is that I wanted to chase my dreams, but I put it off just because of fear. So the whole point of this step is to, again, analyze where your fears come from and what are you actually scared of happening. Is it because you had past traumas whenever you were a kid? Is it because you don't want to look cringe in front of others? Is it because you don't want to be embarrassed putting out your own content? Really just sit there, and you can honestly write this down in a journal. Write it down. Where does this fear come from, and what am I actually scared of happening here? Step number 2 is to now write down how would you actually feel if that fear came true. Really just ask yourself, how would you actually feel if you started posting YouTube content and that old friend from yours from high school found out and thought you were cringe? How would you feel if you started a business and after a few months you failed in front of your parents, your friends, and whatnot? How would you feel if you went up to that girl and you got rejected? The answer you'll probably come up with is that yes, you'd feel bad in the moment, depending on whatever your fear is. But over the span of a few days, few weeks, maybe even a few months max, you wouldn't really care, would you? Alex Hormozi, the entrepreneur, has this decision-making framework where he asks himself these questions before he makes a big decision. And one of the questions is, how would my 85-year-old self feel about this decision that I made here? And the same thing applies to this step. In the long run, over the span of a few days, weeks, years, whatever, you probably won't care. Yes, it's embarrassing or it's, weird in the moment or so, but over the span of a few months or a few days or a few years, it doesn't really matter. And that's the beauty of taking action, because after a while of taking action, you'll look back at your past self, a year ago, 2 years ago, a few months ago, and you'll compare yourself to probably the Joe Schmo and be like, yeah, I took action and you didn't. Pussy. Step number 3. Now that you've wrote down what would actually happen to you if this fear came true, your last step here is to just take action anyway, even if you're scared. Now that you know that over the span of a few days, weeks, or months, that this fear that you have of starting a business or posting content online or approaching this girl or whatever is not going to be cringe, or doesn't really matter in the long term if you actually fail, simply take action. Let me give you guys another example. You see, ladies and gentlemen, for the longest time, I was honestly a pussy when it came to approaching girls in real life. I would say I look fairly good. I have a decent physique. I dress better than most guys. I'm pretty tall. But because of fear of getting rejected or looking awkward in front of others, I never actually went ahead and approached girls. Instead, I used dating apps, which is honestly just cope, because approaching girls in real life is a lot better than using these simple dating apps where you just swipe all day. But eventually, and I mean literally, last month, I decided that enough was enough, and I approached a few girls even though I was scared. I took action even though I was fearful, because I realized that I was only scared of rejection or looking awkward in front of others, but those things would only last a few hours or even a day or two max. So I realized that, and with that, I took action on something that I wanted to do. So to summarize, ladies and gentlemen, analyze your fears and find out where they come from. Is it past trauma, or is it because you don't want to look stupid in front of others? Find out your reason and ask, what are you actually scared of happening here? Then write down what would happen if that fear actually became true. How would you feel? And for how long would that feeling last for? Chances are, again, you'll only feel this way for a few days, few weeks, or even a few months max. But over the span of a year, you probably won't feel it again. And then finally, take action on whatever it is that you want after you realize that you'll only feel this way if it does come true. And even if it does come true, even if this fear does come true, again, it'll only last for a little bit. So your next step here, ladies and gentlemen, is to take action, go after what you want. This is my 3-step fear killing framework. That, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're able to get something valuable out of this video. If you did, subscribe. See you next time.